The European Council topped last week's agenda of the European Commission President José Manuel Barroso. On Monday, the President went to the European Parliament to deliver a speech at an interparliamentary committee debate on the European semester, focusing on how it could help to resolve the crisis and spur growth in Europe. The purpose of the European semester is to strengthen coordination between member states' budgetary and economic policies in order to promote sustainable growth and sound financial management. It's also one of the ways to enhance the relationship between the national and the European democratic processes. The President concluded by encouraging member states to speed up growth-boosting reforms. On Tuesday, President Barroso met Boris Tadic, President of Serbia, to discuss the enlargement process. He said that Serbia was close to gaining official European Union candidacy status. EU leaders meeting in Brussels a couple of days later were expected to grant Serbia the right to start EU accession talks. This decision came after Belgrade last year handed over its top war crimes fugitives and last week agreed to let Kosovo speak under its independent flag in multilateral meetings and to sign international agreements. On Wednesday, on the eve of the European Council, President Barroso outlined to journalists his priorities for the upcoming summit meeting. He said that recently adopted measures to tackle the debt crisis in Europe had laid the ground for leaders to focus more intensely on promoting growth.
So as you understand, I'm being extremely prudent with the words. I think we may have conditions now to start changing the perspectives. And perspectives are very important because one of the key issues is precisely the issue of confidence, of trust.
He said he expected that member states would develop credible national job plans by mid-April as agreed, focusing particularly on youth unemployment. He called on the European Council to focus on concrete steps to boost growth in Europe, in particular through a better use of funding for essential investments in transport, energy and broadband networks. President Barroso also stressed that real progress had been made on Greece in the last couple of weeks. The second Greek program had been agreed in principle and the private sector bond exchange is underway. A few hours later, he met Greek Prime Minister Lucas Papademos with several European commissioners and other Greek government representatives. They discussed ways to support the reforms in Athens. The European Commission wants to accelerate the use of yet-to-be-allocated European funds to return Greece to growth. On Thursday, a few hours before the start of the summit, President Barroso, together with European Council President Herman Van Rompuy and the Danish presidency, met with European workers and employers' representatives at the Tripartite Social Summit. They agreed on the need for an urgent focus on growth and jobs and strong investments to support recovery. The summit focused in particular on the social partners' key role in economic governance and their essential contribution to restoring jobs and growth. President Barroso then joined heads of state and government for a two-day summit to discuss the economic strategy for the coming year as set out in the European Commission's annual growth survey. Addressing the other leaders, he insisted that the time had now come to move from crisis mode to growth mode. He said there was a sense of urgency now among European leaders for restoring growth in Europe.
I think I can say tonight to you, my sincere impression is that the heads of state and government are now considering this European semester as serious business. Not just a formality, but really an interaction about how, collectively, they can address the great challenges of governance in these extremely challenging times. We are entering, indeed, a new phase of economic governance.
During the summit, 25 member states signed a new fiscal treaty which will increase national budgetary discipline and coordination. President Barroso warmly welcomed the fact that the member states were progressing from monetary union towards a true economic union. Signatory countries will commit to maintaining balanced budgets and to supporting the Commission's recommendations to member states in breach of the deficit ceiling of 3% of GDP. Finally, the European Council agreed to grant Serbia the status of candidate country. The next step, opening accession talks, could come in December if Belgrade makes further progress in fighting corruption and improving its day-to-day relations with Kosovo.